Hails, cheers, I'm W. Frickenstein, and I'm gonna take you back to the demo days. The past has awakened. Alright, going back to 2003. And Mortem had just changed our name to the Everscathed. We had just recorded our full-length album. We're full steam ahead. Getting things ready to just hit it big time. And unfortunately, our guitar player, Bryce, suffered a very serious injury. We didn't know when he would be able to play guitar again. The doctors said if. We said, you will, it's just a matter of how long. And he eventually did. But in that downtime, my brother Tim, our drummer, had already started kind of jamming on the side with an old friend of ours, Alan Mate, from the band Ember. And, the current guitar player in the Everscathed. He's been in the band for many, many years now. My brother started jamming with him and another buddy of ours that we hung around with, Joe Townsend. And they formed this little band that would play like before or after the Everscathed in our same rehearsal space. And in the absence of playing as a three-piece in the Everscathed, just so we didn't lose our chops, me and Tim would still rehearse every Saturday just as a two-piece. We'd still play all the Everscathed songs how we always did, but I would just sing the songs that Bryce would normally sing. We didn't have a guitar player, it was just bass and drums and vocals, but that way we just kept things up, and we didn't forget the songs or anything like that. So in that downtime, when I'd be going there to rehearse with my brother, either before or after we would play, the guys from the other band, Alan and Joe, would show up and they would rehearse. So I'd be there most of the time hearing them run through their new songs that they were working on. And they were really good. I was really digging them. They didn't have a singer. And I always asked what kind of singer they were thinking. They were thinking someone with, a more thrash or power metal range, something like that. Just more traditional heavy metal singer. But as I kept listening to these songs, they were pretty heavy. It sounded heavier than something like that. And I started thinking of lyrics and humming, lyrical lines, to certain parts. So eventually I just started writing my own lyrics to one of the songs. And once I had them all finalized how I liked them, I presented it to the guys and I said, hey man, I know you weren't exactly looking for a death metal singer, but I wrote lyrics to this song. What do you think? Would you want to give it a shot? And he said, sure, let's jam. Let's hear it. So we set it up. We played. I sang the song, which became The Turmoil Begins, the first song on the first demo. And everyone loved it. Thought it was great. And that was it. Bam. I was the new singer of the band, which we eventually all agreed on the name, UNSOLEMN. So UNSOLEMN was born in 2003, late 2003. They were playing already. I joined in late 2003. And then we started working on, 4 songs and getting a demo together. And it was recorded over the, I think it was the first half of 2004. Yeah, recorded February through April of 2004. And we released our first demo. The Turmoil Begins. 4 songs. Just death thrash, I guess is the best way to describe it. Elements of all kinds of metal in it, but mostly a death thrash vibe, kind of. Track number 1, The Turmoil Begins. Track number 2, Horror Redefined. Track number 3, Where Nightmares Lie Unchained. And number 4, Contorted Sun. So, yeah. Turmoil Begins. This is a little better copy. We kind of always handed our stuff out in these little, skinny disc kind of things. But, for my own collection. Put it in a nice, jewel case. We did the stickers on the discs. Everything was homemade. Look at that, Yahoo! Showing its age there. Lyrics inside. Just printed these out on the computer at home, burned these on the computer at home, handed them out everywhere. Started playing a lot of shows together as UNSOLEMN. That's when we first met up with our buddies Malas. We wound up playing many shows with both bands, UNSOLEMN and the Everscathed. We went on tour with Malas and the Everscathed, East Coast. So 2004 rolled on. We played a lot of shows, a lot of venues. And then as we entered 2005, we started working on new material. We were probably already working on it at that point. And in the summer, fall of 2005, we recorded our second demo, What Never Was. This one had 3 songs on it. Track 1, I Am the War. Track 2, The Chemical Burns. And track 3, Suicide Revelation. Same lineup as the previous demo. Disc. There's the once again, the lyrics inside. Once again, all homemade, printed on the computer at home, burned, discs burned on the computer at home. We even gave out some little homemade stickers. So, yeah, always pimping our shit everywhere, every show. You had a stack of demos, handed them out. Just instead of being tapes like the olden days, we're getting a little more modern with the digital and the discs. So you're able to do this shit at home. Why not, man? Everywhere you go, have a stack of demos ready to roll. Hold on. For some reason, I also had an alternate version. I don't know how many of these actually were ever handed out. But yeah, alternate version of What Never Was, different cover. Everything else is the same. By the way, this episode of The Past Has Awakened is once again fueled by our old friend, Old Style. A Chicago classic. As the next year or so rolled on, we played a lot of shows, a lot of different venues, a lot of good bands, Malas, Dithyist, Horrid. Had fun with all those guys. Then we eventually parted ways with Joe Townsend, as things, happen with bands. Sometimes it happens. So we eventually got a new bass player named Dave Swanson. You guys would probably know him from bands like Forsaken, Benifacum. I believe he was in Blood of the Wolf, Commandant. So he played with a lot of bands around the area. And he played bass for us. Had a great time with him. I had played some more great shows, opening for some good bands. And we didn't have anything new recorded at the time. So for 2006, we started handing out a 2-song promo. One song from each of the first 2 demos. We handed these all out like crazy too. It had the songs Where Nightmares Lie Unchained from the first demo, and Suicide Revelation from the second demo. Handed these out everywhere we went. And played wherever we could, played all the time. And unfortunately, we hit a little dry spell and didn't book anything for a little while, and Dave wound up splitting, and we were without a bass player for, better part of a year, I think. I considered playing bass with the band, but it just made it feel too much like the Everscathed, and I wanted them to be 2 separate things, because just singing in UNSOLEMN was a whole different vibe than I had in the Everscathed. So, and I never wrote any music in UNSOLEMN. I wrote all the lyrics, but I never wrote any music. So it was a whole different thing, where the Everscathed, I wrote most of the music and the lyrics, and here I was just writing lyrics. And since I didn't have a bass in my hand, I wrote a lot more lyrics. So I was singing longer passages and with a lot more words, and just different style, more verse, chorus, verse, versus, the Everscathed used to be all about not doing verse, chorus, verse. The lyrics were very scattered throughout the songs, and very different song to song. So it was a whole different vibe between the 2 bands. So it didn't feel right playing bass in that band. I tried it, didn't like it. So the search for a bass player continued on, and eventually one day I was just leaving my day job. I get a phone call on my cell phone. It was a new cell phone, like old school fucking cell phone, and it's my old buddy John Contreras, who I'd known for many, many years. And he just, had heard we were looking for a bass player, and he came by, jammed with us one time with his bass, and he became our new bass player. So for those of you who don't know, which I'm sure you would know if you're watching this, so John Contreras is the drummer in the Everscathed. So at this point in UNSOLEMN, the lineup of the Everscathed, me, John, and Alan, were in UNSOLEMN. Me, John, and Alan were in that band with my brother Tim. So the only difference was John was playing bass in UNSOLEMN, and he plays drums in the Everscathed. So that was our first time working together. The 3 of us was in UNSOLEMN, and we came up with 2 new songs. We recorded them in the studio, but we never got a chance to finish them. They were recorded. We were in the mixing process, and we had to take a hiatus, and we just never got the chance to go back and finish mixing them. So it was never really that demo was never really officially released. It had the working title of Darkness Without, Darkness Within, but it was never officially finished, so we never really gave it to anybody unless you were a close friend of the band. You might have got a burned copy with a homemade cover and everything, but it was never officially finished or released. And those 2 songs I would still like to work on them and make them Everscathed songs, because a lot of that stuff towards the end sounds like some stuff that the Everscated's been doing in the last several years since Alan has joined the band. So it would be great to, rework those 2 songs and put those out as the Everscathed. I'd really like to do that. It's something I've really been thinking about. So we'll see what happens. It'd be great, because anyone I've showed, those were like 2 of their favorite UNSOLEMN songs. So, it's a shame to just have them sitting there and not being out there where everybody could hear them. So we'll see what happens with that. But so that's basically the demo days of UNSOLEMN. We had 2 official demos with 2 covers and 1 promo. And and that was all we ever really did. In 2008, Tim quit both bands, quit UNSOLEMN and the Everscathed, and John came and joined the Everscathed, and that was basically the end of UNSOLEMN. And John has been with the Everscathed ever since. Then Alan joined the Everscathed in 2013, and we've been the same three ever since, me, John, and Alan. So, yeah, it's the history of UNSOLEMN and how it relates to the Everscathed. So thank you, fiends, for joining me. Until next time, hails and cheers.